Hello, 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 hello. So today I was playing a word game. Blossom, I think that's what it is, on Merriam-Webster. Wherever you play Quirtle, I think it's called Blossom. And I was on the word list after the game, and I scrolled down to see if they have like the longer words. And one of the words I saw was urgent, the one that is on the community post. And then I saw another word, which was ungurgent, maybe. My laptop is all the way over here. I was tired of like my laptop taking up a good at least fourth of my desk. And I was like, oh, well, all of my cords are long enough. I put hastily, I hastily put the stuff that was on the little table here onto this table here. And then I had the table free. So now my laptop is over here and I get the whole desk, and the solution was right there the whole time. Well, mostly. I mean, I did get this before I left. Oh my gosh, I'm so turned around. I've been turned around on here since I moved. Wait. Yeah, King of Earth. Okay. If I put my right hand up, it's on the left side. If I put my left hand up, it's on the right side. Oh, because it's a mirror, girl. My brain, she ain't been working. But on YouTube, hold up. What? YouTube used to mirror it. So if I looked on YouTube, it would be backwards, but on OBS, it would be the right way. And then on the playback, it would be the right way. But now YouTube is matching OBS. What? Is YouTube not flipping text anymore in the preview pane while I'm watching myself? Anyway, it's fine. Oh, snap. And we got the cross. Today I felt like using the Gilded Tarot. Well, I felt like the Gilded Tarot Royale. And then because I'm using the Gilded Tarot Royale, I wanted to use the Gilded Lenormand Reverie. And I was thinking of, I think it's the Ace of Pentacles in the Gilded Tarot. And it made me think of the Four of Earth, I believe, in the Dreams of Gaia Tarot. So I got those three decks on the table. I've been curious to see what Venus is bringing to the table, just as I was curious to see what Mars is bringing. Well, I was more curious about Mars, honestly. But Venus is also about to, play a part. So I was like, I could do that. There's still the fog thing that I wanted to do. I might not end up doing. And then there was a thing with the labyrinth that I wanted to do, but I probably won't end up doing that either. It's been, I mean, I guess I've been readjusting to, being 11 and a half hours behind where I was for 2 weeks, working, diet, like the food is different. My body was loving it in India. The amount of processed food I didn't eat, natural fruits I ate. Oh, I didn't even notice this. The cross and the dice. 3639. Interesting. Cool. Anyway. The dreams have been crazy lately. I feel like every night I go to sleep, I'm somewhere else. Like I've had a dream that I was back in India. And then I had a dream. I feel like I had a dream that I was back in India. And then I had a dream that I met my bestie. And then I had another dream where I was back in India. And then I had another dream, like the next night, where I saw my bestie somewhere else. And then last night, I had a dream that was just weird. First, the dream started off, it was like there were a bunch of people that were gathered together for something. And there was this little girl with black pages of like the page was black and the text was red. And I was like, I don't feel like I can tell this dream is about to go in a whole direction that I don't want any part of. And sometimes when my dreams are too crazy, or when I can tell that the dream is about to get real, whatever, I'm like, okay, I'm dreaming. I choose to wake up because I'm not about to dream this dream. Um, and so I chose to wake up in the dream, but I don't know if I actually woke up. Usually, when I choose to wake up, I wake up in real life, but I don't know if I actually woke up. I think things were just like dark, and then like I woke up and then I went back to sleep and the dream picked back up where it didn't pick back up where it left off because it skipped a whole other part. Like first she had did a little something and at first I saw her. I caught her out the corner of my eye and I'm like, and then she started reading reading the paper. I was like, oh yeah, no. Oh no, I'm not about to have this dream tonight. And I gotta go to work today. I don't think so. Even if I didn't have to go to work. So I was like, I'm gonna wake up. And so I woke up and then I went back to sleep and the room was empty. Like most of the people had done whatever. And there were like a few people left. And they were like, oh yeah, like since you're not participating in the whatever, you can do whatever. And I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I fortunately now when I go to the, it's been at least a decade and some change. I mean, how old was I? 10, maybe. I feel like I was I was probably about maybe 10, 11. Because sometimes I'll have dreams where I'm like, I'm going to the bathroom and I won't go to the bathroom by myself. But when I was younger, I would have dreams where I had to go to the bathroom and I would. And it's like the dreams would get me because I would dream that I'm like at the toilet. But now, thankfully, my body is like, just because it's happening in a dream don't mean it's happening in my life. So I was trying to go to the bathroom. I don't know. Anyway, it was a weird dream. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this. I said, I am not about to be a part of this foolishness. I don't know what's going on. I could tell what's happening. I was like, because again, it started by me like I would dream the dream. It's like I would have the whole dream. I would get a feeling. The first dream I can remember, I was walking down the street and I looked into my house and like my family was tied up and there was somebody in there. And then I dreamt the whole dream, basically. This whole nightmare. And then after the dream was over, I was standing back. I was like walking down the street and I gaze into the house. I peer into the house and I see my family tied up. And I was like, yeah, no, I just had this dream, not going through this. So that's kind of how it started in some dreams. Like I would dream the whole dream. And I've had other dreams too, where it's like I'll dream the dream without me in it. And then it'll go back to the beginning and I'll be in the dream. And then I'll be like, yeah, no. Or I'll be like, okay, I already know what's going to happen. Now, there have been some dreams that I've had where things play out differently because I'm there and because I think I know what's about to happen. And then they're like, oh, so you think you know? Well, now it's going to go this way. And I was like, but most of the time now I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm waking up. Sometimes it's just a feeling. Like sometimes it's like while I'm dreaming in my mind's eye, I can see the dream. I don't have to actually dream it. Because at first I was like, I would literally dream the whole dream and then go back to the beginning. Now, when she was doing that, because first she was already giving me vibes that was like, ew. And then when I saw her like reading that paper, it came into my mind's eye in the dream. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm waking up. But yeah, anyway, I had that dream last night. I'm glad I didn't have to dream it because anyway, I've been, like I said, though, I feel like I've been all over the place in dreams lately. I feel like even more so than usual. Like I feel like I don't know, it's different. Or maybe it's because I feel like I'm in so many different places, like from one night to the next night, that it's like whatever. I don't know. Anyway, this is obviously going to be a rant bowl. Rant bowl. Oh wow. Um, hey David, how you doing? So the word that came up, urgent. See, now my keyboard is all the way over there. My keyboard is all the way across the room. I feel like it's like Christmas. I feel like it's Christmas. Like, Woo! Hey Steph, how you doing? Which I love, and it's so hilarious because I was like one day I go in one day because it's something that's been on my mind for a minute, but I go in one day and I voice it. I voice my concern. I'm like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, what's really tea, sis? And then the next day, like literally the next day, they're like, hey, so it's Christmas. And then I'm like, what is this literally not what I was just like, oh my gosh, thank you. Speak and I will ask and you shall receive. Ye have not because ye ask not. Which is that came up with my grandma. Just doing, well, hey, sometimes just doing is doing great comparative to how we could be. So that happened. Now this word is an interesting word because I feel like it sort of in a way, well, in a way for me, yes. And I feel like even on here in a way too, yes. Um, I'm pretty sure it was Ergrund. It was two German words. And I was like, oh, well, I did just have that layover in Germany. I did have a layover in Germany. I went to Marienplatz with my mom. Ergrund. But I think it was supposed to be like a T, Ergrund. Urgrund. And it means a primal cause or ultimate cosmic principle. And I was like, that's interesting because, oh, well, thanks for stopping by. It was nice to see you. I hope things go better and better and better for you. I was like, that's interesting because it plays on, it was one day, I can't remember where it was. I can't remember if it was Pluto or Mars or if it was life before that, but it was the dragonfly, the cosmic egg, and another animal. I don't remember, but it was like for the spirit trove is it's been a theme, kind of sort of for a minute. At first, it was like the berserker that's not a berserker, or the person who channels that like animal spirit, but in a non-berserking way. Because we're used to the berserkers when they go into their whatever, but it's not. It's a different way to go about things. So the energy's been around for a hot second. Um, but it was like because we know that the spear was intended to be used for fishing instead of it being a weapon of war. But there was an energy with the dragonfly and the cosmic egg where it's like we wouldn't even necessarily know that there's another way to use something because we only see it in one way, or we've only seen it used in one way, or because of the life that we've lived and the history on this planet, when we're introduced to something, we would think like we're already predisposed to think of it in a certain direction. But this one, Ergrind, was interesting because it's like just because something is a primal cause doesn't necessarily mean that it's an ultimate cosmic principle. But for us, since the cause happened so long ago and the effect is still reverberating through time, we would it would appear to be an ultimate cosmic principle, right? It would appear to be absolute truth to us because of what happened so long ago. But it's like, yeah, no, it was not necessarily. Anyway, it was interesting. And then I think the other word was like, it was like gurgin. Was that it? Not burgeoned. Because it was almost like burgeoned, but it wasn't. And it basically meant like Shakespeare used it in like 14th century, and I forget what it was. And it meant like a reward or to be rewarded. But the word that I saw was like ungurgin. So it was something that's like unrewarded. I don't know. Anyway, I was just playing little word games. And I was like, what does this word mean? And then it was the first word was like a primal cause or ultimate cosmic principle. And I was like, oh, snap. Interesting, but anyway. And so, with the cross coming out, that's when I was like, oh, there's that Erdrand, the cross and the dice. It was a roll of the dice. It just happened that way. It ain't necessarily intended to be or meant to be, right? Like, imagine if it's fine. So we'll just see what's up. I think I'll pull. I don't know if I'll pull this first and then that and then this. Besides that, though, I don't know. This week has been interesting. Like yesterday, today, and tomorrow through virtue of yesterday. This whole weekend. Going into Monday. It's so interesting. It's just like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's fine. Let's see. Like, I feel like it would make the most sense to get the Dreams of Gaia tarot first because it can be so big and nebulous. But I'm gonna go with this one first. The Gilded Tarot Reverie. Right? Maybe. That's a whole. Ooh. The Ten of Wands came out with this stack. The Moon came out with this stack. Oh, look, the Moon is in the Ten of Wands. But there's too many cards and I'm not doing all that. So we're putting them back. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And then I picked up the deck. I bent the Judgment card. And behind Judgment was the Wheel of Fortune. I was like, oh. Oh, gosh. If I could keep the cards together. Okay. 3 cards at the most. What am I doing? Who knows? Oh, we got the 6 of Wands. This card is interesting because over here, for some reason, when I first looked at the card, it looked like there were people behind the person on the horse. Like, it looked like, excuse me, these people were like these, oh my gosh. I'd be struggling now. Looks like these people were behind the horse, and then there was this guy, and then like these people were in front of him. So it's almost like there was something going on up here, and behind that is our Six of Wands with the people watching them or recognizing them. I still need to get my glasses fixed. I'll be slacking. There's something interesting going on in these wands. It's like there's a little sun where because they're shaped like that, basically. And there's a little sun in between them. It's kind of focusing, sort of. But on this one, there's like the laurel wreath on the outside of it. And then we have the element of fire, the triangle. Ooh, how many cards is that? Oh, it's only 2 cards. I said up to 3. The Four of Cups and the Five of Cups. This is interesting. Bottom of the deck is the Nine of Pentacles. We'll see if she's relevant. She ain't really giving me much. This feels like someone who like wastes their life away. Or someone who would, it's like, I don't want to say waste their life away. It's like someone who's waiting for a moment that almost never comes. And it's like they sit under this tree, learning, reading, seeking for so long. But then at some point, it's like they realize that they're still sitting there after many, many, many years go by. And then there's this element of grief because it's like I never went out and like lived my life type energy. It's like I never and again, like here's the Six of Wands that like, I mean, she's giving night energy. It's on a horse. There's movement and accomplishment. This is the doer. This is the thinker, waiter, believer. This is a 4-5-6 or a 6-4-5. How many of these are good? So the first card that flipped off way over to the right is the home, King of Hearts, which is interesting because I was like staring at these mushrooms down here. And then this is a mushroom house. What's also interesting is the door to this home. Oh, why are you not focusing? Oh, there you go. You see that? See, this is why I was fixated on these wands. Oh, look, and now I focused on these too. You can see the little like lights, but they're a lot closer in the Six of Wands than on the handle to that door. So it's all, I wonder if, and it's a closed door on the home. Like, I wonder if they're not close enough to open the door, turn on the power. We have the letter in reverse, which is the seven of spades, and the tower in reverse, which is the six of spades. 6, 7. The letter and the tower in reverse with this locked home. And then again, we have this person almost like waiting on something. And I wonder, because I was like, it's interesting that one day I say something to somebody, the next day it's like, and then it was like, you have not because you ask not. What was it? You have not because you ask not. And the other one that I already forgot. Also, as always, this video was not sponsored by anything but responsible consumption of minds, brain, body, spirit, emotion, mental altering substances. And then, of course, I noticed the flag, the one here. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, the one here versus the one here. Now, the top of the flag is called I think it's FINIAL, because I was playing another word game, and it was like 10, it was an arrow that pointed to something, and you had to guess what the word is. And that was one of the things, FINIAL. Yeah. I don't know if it's finial or finial ornaments. Excuse me. Okay, well, this is talking about ornaments and tree toppers and stuff. I saw it on a flag. And now it's interesting that here we are. Finial flagpole or finial. See, it's the thing it's the thing that goes on the top of flagpoles. Well, that's fine. A ball style finial is often mounted to the top of a stationary flagpole. How do you pronounce this word? Finial. A usually foliated ornament forming an upper extremity, especially in Gothic architecture. A crowning ornament or detail. How do you pronounce it? It don't matter. The word is what the word is. How you doing, Holly? Did I say hi? Did I say hello? Fin like a fish, finial. It don't feel right. It don't, for some reason. Maybe because I'm thinking. I mean, it was an easy guess because I was like final, and then it's the top of the flagpole. Like, I made an educated guess. Oh, I done rearranged this. There we go. I put the 4 of cups on top, and then the 6 of wands and the 5 of cups. The thing that came to mind when I'm talking about the house being a mushroom, the first thing that came to mind was like mycelium, which I believe is the fungal network. The fungal network with these two gives it, I guess, a Plutonian, we could say, energy. It's like things are connected in ways that are not supra-terrestrial, if supra-terrestrial is a word. It's subterranean or supra-terranean. Is that a word? I think supra is above. Supra-terranean. There's apparently a movie. Superterranean? Lying, dwelling, or action above or on the Earth's surface. So it's super terranean. Well, what's supra versus super? Super is only over and above, not touching, while super can also be on top of or resting on when used as prepositions of place. So super has a broader meaning, allowing direct contact. Super, but it was giving me supra terranean, like above the surface, not necessarily on the surface. Super doesn't matter. Um, so supra means what I thought it meant. What I thought it meant. But there's no direct contact. So anyway. But it's like Plutonian underground in the root network, everything is connected. So it's almost like it's because this is happening here. It's just like we wouldn't think that one thing has necessarily anything to do with another. We already know, like, God works in mysterious ways, the universe works in mysterious ways. Things can be connected in ways that we don't even necessarily know. Our intuition will key us in. So, on construction projects, oh snap. Well, that would make sense. And then I only want one of these. Cool. That was real quick. Masculine, feminine is at the bottom of the deck. I've been wanting to use this deck because the aces are dragons and it's the year of the dragon. And it's interesting that the card that came to mind actually wasn't a dragon, it was the Four of Earth, I believe. But anyway, the Sage came out. Now, this is interesting because, again, like I was talking about with the dragonfly and the cosmic egg and whatever the other card was, it was like the non-berserking berserker. Like this energy's been here since that came up. Now it's like I'm talking about it in terms of the spear being used to fish instead of the spear being a weapon of war. But it first came out in that non-berserking berserker. It's the one who channels and invokes the power of their totem animal, but they don't use it in a war like fashion. Which may also be interesting because Mars is more than just a hot-headed warrior that's quick to shed some blood. Anyway, but the reason why I mention that is because we see the animals here with the sage, and they're stationary. They're not poised, like the wolf isn't poised to strike and the owl isn't poised to snatch some prey. Ew. I did not need that context, but thanks, I guess. Now, the sage would be the one that understands the interconnectedness of all these things. So even if they don't touch, their proximity produces some kind of light or gives some kind of signal, which is interesting because I'm talking about supra versus super. Even without direct contact, excuse me, their proximity signals something. And low hanging fruit, it could be quantum because there is no direct contact. There is seemingly no direct correlation, but somehow a change in one thing produces a change in another. "27" is another nine. We had a 45 9 and a 36 9 recently, I think. Oh, look, we have the wolf that waits. There's something also going on with the staff of the sage. But the sage almost looks more like this Five of Cups. No, you're fine. You're fine. I hear catheters and I think surgeries and procedures and organs and blood and messy doctors with dirty gloves. See, there's this energy or a truth, a potentiality that we never miss things. Because in all of his waiting, this Five of Cups energy becomes the Sage. Again, the Sage feels like it pulls more on the Five of Cups than it does that Six of Wands. So now this could be like, let's say that there's something in your life that you've been learning, healing, growing, working through, and you may feel like you don't have much to show for it. While there are others that are like accomplishing things and making moves and being recognized. And if you play a comparison game, it can wear on you. Even if you're not playing a comparison game, like it can still wear on you. Now the letter in reverse and the tower in reverse feels like it feels like the letter never leaves the tower. And so it doesn't get delivered to this house. This could be like a Hogwartsy, like, Harry got his letter from Hogwarts, and that's how he knew he was a wizard because his uncle and auntie and cousin weren't going to tell him. Well, then, Hagrid shows up and he's like, "You're a wizard, Harry." It's like some kind of external confirmation validation that never arrives or that has been delayed. And it's also interesting. This would be the queen, the 13 of spades, because 11, yeah, this would be the queen of spades upright, the six and the seven of spades. And then you have like the 14 of hearts here. And the spade is the upside down heart. But since these are in reverse, well, they look like hearts that have been stabbed. Maybe not stabbed, but they look like hearts that are growing a stem like apples. There you go. But they're not hearts. And then you have the sage here. The sage is the end of the road. There is no deck after this. But, the sage is the sage. Wow. Let's see what details can we see now that the camera's focused all the way up here. Let's take advantage of the blur. There's something there that's very obviously. Let's try to walk it back. Okay, you see it? You see it? Oh my gosh, how close do I gotta get? There, now you can now you can really see the details in that owl. Right, is the owl satisfied? Ool owl senses came out at like in a string of cards, I think. That was at the bottom of the room, probably last time I used it. See, but this is giving me mycelium again. This is the Ten of Wands with the moon. There was the stack that came out with the Ten of Wands and the stack that came out with the moon. It's the burden of not knowing, or the burden of knowing in part. And it's an impatience. It's either an impatience at like, when am I going to get more information? When is this going to make sense? Or it's how we can over encumber. And so over encumber and ourselves where we can be overwhelmed by the amount of filling in the gaps that we have to do because of that moon. But again, it feels like this Five of Cups leads to the Sage. And there is a six that's missing. Because it's the Four of Cups, the Five of Cups, and then the Sage is number 7. Now the Six of Wands is here, but that's a Six of Fire. Oh, maybe it does slide in. Oh, look, the Four of Cups and then the 4. What's going on upstairs? And it's interesting because the door, oh no, that's a window. Huh, JK, LOL, never mind. I thought that was a balcony, and I was like, well, the door upstairs is open. Like, the balcony door is open, but oh, we're focused. The balcony door is open, but the main door is closed. The reason why I say this Six of Wands might work is because of the wand that the Sage is holding. I wonder if this is almost like, because story wise, if I read these as a story now, because there's this letter that's supposed to arrive from the tower. Eve! How are you doing, Eve? How art thou today? You thought it was about? Okay, thank you. It's giving balcony energy. It's almost like, but isn't that the case sometimes? Like, this person is waiting so long for this letter that never arrives, that one day they're like, you know what? I'm going to go to the tower. I'm going to go to the tower myself and see what is up. I'm going to go see, because I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And now I'm putting cards where they, oh my gosh, this is a 6. The tower is a 6. The 6 of spades. I put this up here. I put the 6 of wands in between the home and the letter in reverse. And then I put the tower down here, but that's not how this goes. That's not how this works. I forgot to wish my journey buddy a happy Valentine's Day yesterday. Oh my gosh. I am doing fantastic. It's freaking Christmas over here. I don't have to work tomorrow and I still get paid. And Monday is a holiday. So I don't have to work Monday and I get a 4-day weekend paid. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm excited. Whew. So I'm great. I'm fantastic. I'm doing very well. I have no complaints. We'll see. We'll see. Let's see. Thanks for asking. Glad to hear you're great. So the letter from the tower doesn't arrive. So our character takes action. We have this Gandanta energy. I think Gandanta is Vedic for when something goes from fire to water. That interface between fire and water is Gandanta, I think. And I only know that from like a handful of Vedic astrology videos I've seen. Oh yeah, duh. Because the wand of the sage, that's why I was like, maybe it works. It's like the wand of a sage is a natural extension of that wand. We can see this one wand has the wreath of the world around it. These other wands don't. And it's not a comparison, but there's some kind of, at least at this point, partial completion. So maybe there was a period or a segment of the journey that was slower, that was more introspective and retrospective. And again, it was like the healing, the learning, all of that happened. And then you go out into the world and you apply that information. And as you apply that information, you naturally come into a space of sagery, because now not only do you have the information that you gain from meditating and being open to the cosmos, but you've also put it into practice in real life beyond the just sit in your room and manifest. It gives a working knowledge and a heightened understanding, right? Like Sagittarius is the sage in the tower that does all the learning. Gemini is the one that is like learns in the streets. But when you bring them together, you get higher learning that is applied to real life, not higher learning whose basis is ideal circumstances and situations that don't exist in real life in real time. So it's like, yeah, you get a lot of higher learning, but it's almost inherently disconnected from reality because the real world isn't a lab, which is interesting because I had a week ago, I guess. Yeah, a week ago. Um, we had some machines calibrated, and they were like, when we create and calibrate and do a lot of our testing, it happens in a lab. But customers who use these machines aren't operating in labs. And so we would get a lot of calls about like real life circumstances and conditions not matching lab conditions. And now, like, whatever. But they were like, we, in this software update, we accounted for a lot of that. And I was just talking about that with my boss earlier today. Because I was fiddling with the machines and I was like, oh, these are all the things that they've updated since the like last year. But yeah, it's like that. It's like it in the lab in the Sage's Tower, there's this non-realistic environment that learning happens in, right? Like how easy is it for us to go through some kind of deep learning, deep healing and isolation, but then we go out into the real world, we go out in the public and we're triggered and we're overwhelmed by all the people around us and all this energy and stuff like that. Like the environment that we learn it in and the environment that we live in aren't the same. And if we can't bridge that, then there's a lot of stuff that falls through the gaps. The sage, however, does all that integrating stuff, stuffy stuff. Now, what's interesting though, if this is all one, is that the Six of Wands came out before the Four and the Five, which I would take to mean that's like, in a time of doing, in a time of applying all of the things that already happened. Almost reading as it's a time for action. It's not a time for almost like all of the learning and stuff should have happened. Now should be a time of applying and living everything. And of course, we can always get refreshers and stuff like that. It's like, oh, like I was going through something and I missed that chapter. Can I get a refresher on that chapter? And it's like, yeah, you can get a refresher on that chapter, but like you're still responsible for showing up and learning and applying. Like whatever you do now, you're still responsible for now. It's one of those on your own time. You can get tutoring outside of class. You can do whatever you got to do to catch up, but class now doesn't stop so that you can go back. Now, obviously, this is Patrick, and in real life, it probably isn't that extreme. But it's just the energy. Like it's a time for like being all of who we've healed to be and all of who we've researched and grown and downloaded and ascended to be. It's a time to actually be out in the world because you see all the people instead of off solitary, isolated, leaning up against this tree, grounding, doing all that. And it's like, yeah, you can still like go to your tree for grounding if you need, but also it's a time to like be seen and to show up in the world IRL in real time. But always, 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 more than anything, do what you need to do. I love Sagittarius too. You finished Dragon stuff, but you got sick and didn't start a new series yet. Any hints on what the new series is gonna be like? Excuse me. Also, I found out that Mars had a eclipse. Mars had an eclipse on like the 8th of February. I was like, what? Mars had a solar eclipse before it entered Aquarius and conjuncted Pluto. And I didn't think Mars had a moon. But apparently Phobos is Mars's moon. And I was like, I know about Phobos. I know that Phobos is a moon somewhere because Warframe. And I feel like something else. I was like, I really thought Mars was out here moonless. But Phobos is Mars's moon. What? I was like, what? Phobos? Really? And it's like it's smaller and not. It was like the gravity on Mars isn't. No, it was like Phobos is. It's either the gravity of Mars or the mass of Phobos. It's not. One of them isn't strong enough to get it to form a perfect sphere. So it's like elongated or whatever. Musical alchemy of astrology. That makes sense. Phobos is the innermost and larger of the two natural satellites of Mars. The other being Deimos. Mars has two moons. I was out here thinking Mars is moonless, and Mars got two moons. I know Deimos was the brother of Kratos and God of War, I think, but it is named after Phobos, the Greek god of fear and panic, who was the son of Ares and twin brother of Deimos. Or Deimos? The personification of fear, the son of Ares and Aphrodite, and the brother of Phobos. Ares and Venus already got a baby. So Aries, well, it didn't say. Well, let's see. Who is Phobos's mother? If it's not, um, if it's not Venus, that'll be interesting because Venus and Mars are about to conjunct, and yeah, Venus and Mars are about to conjunct in Aquarius after they both conjunct separately Pluto. I'm like the sun of Venus and Mars eclipses the sun right before Mars enters Aquarius. Anyway, it's fine. I was just like scrolling through my little whatever and I saw it. I was like, what? Not only does Mars have a moon, but Mars just had a solar eclipse. Now again, the moon is like small enough that it's a rock. I don't want to be disrespectful. The moon was like just passed in front of the sun. It wasn't like a total solar eclipse from Mars. One of the rovers got a picture of it. The god and personification of fear and panic. Yeah, Phobos is also the son of Ares and Aphrodite and the brother of Deimos. He does not have a major role in mythology outside of being his father's attendant. Deimos, flight or fright. Oh, that's what Phobos means. I mean, we got plenty of phobias, right? Deimos or Deimos, literally fear, the personification of fear. Deimos served to represent the feelings of dread and terror that befell those before a battle, while Phobos personified feelings of fear and panic in the midst of battle. Harmonia? What? Who is Harmonia? In Greek mythology, Harmonia is the goddess of harmony and concord. Her Roman counterpart, Concordia. Her Greek opposite is Eris, whose Roman counterpart is Discordia. Eris has an opposite. We know Eris, right? Wow. Okay, well, I need the mythology. Because this said siblings. Anyway, it's fine. Wow, interesting. Anyway, according to one account, she is the daughter of Ares and Aphrodite. By another account, Harmonia was from someplace and was the daughter of Zeus and Electra. Her brother was the founder of the mystic rites celebrated on that island. Almost always, she is the wife of Cadmus, mother of Eno, Polydorus, and some other folks. Interesting. So the three children of Mars and Aries, the personification of fear and panic, fear and harmony. Anyway. Anyways, you get what you get. You get what you need to know. Type of flow thing. I'm always down for a flow thing. Interesting. Yeah, I just saw that Phobos. Mars had an eclipse the other day in the news. And of course, I'm looking at the staff because of the magician and the fairy tarot. Cool. What's this about? I don't know. At least it's not fear of harmony. Well, hey, sometimes that's a thing too. I think sometimes the fear of harmony can be exacerbated. Yeah. To exacerbate is to make something worse, right? EXERCERBEBATE. No, it's not EXA. EXACERBATE. Exacerbate. Make a problem, bad situation, or negative feeling worse. Yes. Sometimes the fear I feel of harmony can be exacerbated because of the cost of harmony. Especially if we feel that it's almost like if harmony is a leveling or an equaling, right? And if we feel like we're up here, it's like, well, what's the cost of like everything being on a level playing field in terms of like a whole bunch of stuff, right? It's like if we don't want to apologize, or if we don't like apologizing, or we don't like being wrong, or whatever. And if the cost of harmony is an apology, then it's like the fear of harmony is like, well, I don't want to have to admit that I was wrong, or I don't want to be put in a situation where I feel like I have to apologize. So instead of me getting over my fear, I'm just going to continue to let discord and disharmony be the rule of thumb and the right of law and everything else. Because the price of harmony is too high. I will never apologize for anything ever. I will never admit that I was wrong. I'm sorry. It's fine. It's fine. Whew. Okay. I'm like, it's fine. Bewildered. It's fine. Like, I feel like this should go somewhere else, but I don't think anything lies beyond the sage. I don't think anything general lies beyond the sage. And then there's our favorite wolf. That's the wolf that waits. Well, the sage has arrived. And the owl is there, and you can see it's happened at night. What does that mean? Oh, it's the light in the dark. Cool, got it. Is this giving nightlight energy? Is this giving able to move under the breath of the ice dragon energy? Well, here's that movement. The letter from the tower never arrived. Whatever was promised or teased in this Four of Cups doesn't come. And so this person, they move to it. And through the period and process of moving, they come into some kind of sagery. Cool. You're wildered. Have you ever been whelmed? I remember when I was an RA, the first like 2 to 3 months of the job, I was just like constantly whelmed to the point of like borderline overwhelm. It was overwhelming at some points, but then the overwhelm would calm back down into a whelm. And sometimes it was one of those just like, again, it was so whelming so constantly that my nerves were always on a like, they were shot. But eventually, I don't even know necessarily what changed or what happened. Well, I guess I made bonds with my residents and I trusted myself in the position, and that was a lot of it. And I was like, okay, yeah. Never been whelmed. I'm over that. I mean, I never want to be whelmed again, but I was very, very whelmed for extended periods of time, and it was not great. For you, it's giving night protection for seeking. We also had those owl senses. Is there a wolf in? I mean, there's what? Animal spirit, animal totem, animal guide. But she don't necessarily give me wolf. There is a wolf because it's I always confuse Fenrir and Fafnir. I think Fafnir is the dragon and Fenrir is the wolf. I know Fenrir is mentioned somewhere. It may be on tier. I don't know. Hey, I am appreciator. Oh, never been whelmed. I'm over that. Okay. It wasn't until you called it a dad joke that I got it. I was like, at first I didn't get it. It just like went over my head. And now I'm like, yeah, yeah. Fenrir is the wolf. Okay. I feel like I never read Fafnir and think, is that the wolf? But when I think of Fenrir, I'm like, is that the wolf or the dragon? I never confuse Fafnir for Fenrir, but I often confuse Fenrir for Fafnir. You hear that? The helicopter. Cool. Now, if I'm being completely honest, oh, that would make sense. This would make a lot of sense, actually. I've been wanting to do that. I've already been live for an hour. I think it's too late. It's never too late. So I remember that. I think I've used the Dungeons and Dragons Magic the Gathering cards to do a read twice. One time, this was that temple. There was a temple of like light. There was a temple somewhere or a tower. There was a tower somewhere in an area where time did not exist. And it was so impenetrable, or it was so impossible to approach that tower. Because I've been looking at it, and that tower's been coming to mind from that reading. And maybe that's why the letter never like leaves the tower, because there's that impenetrable bubble, because time doesn't exist there. It's like their time is so still that it doesn't exist. So then this Six of Wands somehow manages to get to that tower. And then I'm like, oh, that's the sage makes sense, because the Six of Wands would have to be a sage to approach that tower. The Six of Wands having to be a sage to approach that tower gives me the energy of, I think it was actually a daemon. It was the Ten of Pentacles in the occult tarot. Reveals treasures hidden by magicians or something like that. And it was that energy of like Mars after it leaves Pluto. Mars can reveal those treasures of the magicians because it is a magician. I mean, Mars came out as the magician. Well, the magician was on the bottom of the deck, the high priestess was there. And it was the thing about something that's been kept from our knowing because of like history and because people are people and we all have pasts. And sometimes we don't always do the right things for the right reasons. Yeah, I've already waffled this long. There's no harm in going further. I've been wanting to do it. I was wanting to do it because dragons and you're the dragon, but then I forgot. Okay. Y'all gotta help me find these cards. I know that they're in here. I know you're in here. They're exactly where I thought they were. Is this one open? We got an unopened pack of cards. Let's go. Oh, that is making sense. Oh, wait. That's why I was like, why is OBS up? Because I just turned off the virtual camera. There are also two guides through this dark forest. This is an enchanted forest because I'm looking at the swirls in the sky and I'm like, okay, those are just like swirls. But what's illuminated around the staff, you can see like a Triscale type of energy. Excuse me. And there's even like like these are Celtic knots. There are Celtic knots in the sky. Oh, look, it's focused. So around the fire, you can see like the bottom right portion of a triquetra right there. It's not a full triquetra. It's like a deconstructed triquetra, partially open. It's giving Celtic knot energy. There you go. And I was like, oh. And now we're blurry again. Cool. The camera's like, I can focus on one or two things. I can either focus on you back there or these cards all the way up here. Anyway, oh, that's like, just kidding. I just opened the pack. You see that? It's not open. We're going to get into it. I'm excited. Let's see what comes out. Well, we have Undercity. Undercity is a dungeon. We have a dungeon, which, I feel like dungeon energy, it's implied because we have the Six of Wands somehow becoming a sage. Like the Six of Wands starts in daytime, the sage emerges at night. The Undercity, you can't enter this dungeon unless you venture into Undercity. Now, the interesting part about Undercity is that Undercity has a very subterranean type energy. The mycelium of this fungal house was giving me subterranean energy. Things that can't be observed beneath the surface from above it. And right, that was like, it's like, well, why isn't the letter from the tower arriving? What's happening? It was like there's a lot of very connected, but seemingly disconnected because it's all connected underground. Like there's a reason why not. And now we have the Undercity. And because I'm going, instead of going this way, because we're starting, given full energy almost, or like a freed hangman energy almost. We're coming this way. So we start with our venture into the Undercity rather than ending with it. So let's go. Now we're looking at card backs. Here's the front. The initiative. Whenever one or more creatures a player controls deal combat damage to you, that player takes the initiative. Whenever you take the initiative and at the beginning of your upkeep, venture into Undercity. If you're in a dungeon, advance to the next room. If you're not, enter Undercity. You can take the initiative even if you already have it. That feels like it plays on this somehow. You can take the initiative even if you already have it. This would be someone else has the initiative and then you take the initiative, right? With the Five of Cups, the Six of Wands, if you have initiative, you can take it even if you already have it. And enter the Undercity. Oh, look at that. Not the door creaking open. Not the door of this house. Like, yeah, that door is closed. Oof. I mean, if you're going into a fungus house, because so much of a fungal network is underground, but it's like this doesn't give Undercity energy. Like, it's so bright and colorful. But again, it's like, well, it's a fungus. Oh my gosh, I can see me in my glasses. That's wild. I just noticed that. Hi. Oh, look, I can see the back of my hand here in my glasses. I can see the back of my hand in my glasses and the front of my hand in the reflection, like from the screen. That's wild. Anyway, sorry. It's almost the Six of Wands energy again, though. It's like there are people standing behind the Six of Wands, and then there are people who notice the Six of Wands. Anyway, it's fine. Imagine walking into this and you end up in the Undercity, like, oof. And they're like, well, it was a fungus. Like, what did you expect? It's like, yeah, I know that it's a fungus, but I wasn't expecting to be in the mycelium underground. That's the word, right? I'm pretty sure that's the word. I mean, I've just been throwing it around like it is. Mycelium. Mycelium is a root-like structure of a fungus consisting of a mass of branching thread-like hyphae. Fungal colonies composed of mycelium are found in and on soil and many other substrates. Yeah, it's mycelium. Thank you. Or is it mycelium? No, it is mycelium. Okay, cool. Cool. We are taking the initiative and we are venturing into the Undercity. And again, everything is face down now. So what are we starting with? A displacer kitten. This is a cat beast creature. Avoidance. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to one target non-land permanent you control. Then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Isn't she the cutest thing you've almost seen? Isn't she the cutest thing you've almost seen from the purveyor of exotic pets? And then, oh, that's the tail. And it's holographic. So we have this displacer kitten. The displacer kitten is hilarious because again, because that it was that energy, right? You walk into this and then you end up in the Undercity and you're like, whoa. But the displacer kitten gives this a more immediate feeling. Like usually it's like you gradually go down and down and down until you're below the foundation of the house and you see all these roots and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the immediacy of the exile of this, and just like the word displace, it's like it immediately displaces you as soon as you walk through the door. It's like there's no gradualness about this. It's almost like The displacer kitten is at the door. Like as soon as you step over the threshold, you're immediately displaced. And it's interesting because this is water, right? We got the 3 mana costs and the water energy. It's interesting because we got the 4 of cups and the 5 of cups. So this is almost like a 3 of water before the 4 and the 5. Maybe someone's displaced by the displacer kitten and they're like, oh, what happened? Where am I? We're just like sitting waiting for somebody to like save us, rescue us, somebody else to get displaced, somebody to come along to tell us like what's happening, how do we end up in the undercity, what's going on. And it's like, well, didn't they tell you about like the healing work? And it's like, yeah, but they didn't say it would be like this. It's so dark. They sold me love and light. Why is it so dark? It's like, well, it'll be that when you get out of this. But also too, because this is the undercity and because there's a micellular or mycelium network here, with the impenetrability of that tower that's in the bubble of timelessness, it's like there's an underground passage, but you really got to go through it. You really gotta. It's like dark. And it's interesting because I started watching a new show yesterday, and they're like, there are going to be a series of tests basically as this god. I think, yeah, it became a god. And it's interesting because I think the name of the god is like Baka, but like Baka means like dummy or like stupid in Japanese. And it was someone who was kind of foolish anyway, that before they became deified. But the Phobos and the Deimos, the fear and panic, the fear before, or the panic before the battle and the fear in the midst of it. But it's like, that's what you got to get through to get there. Isn't she the cutest thing you've almost seen? And then again, we have the 4 of cups like up here. Like, but it's like if you get flashed the 4 of cups and then it's like gone. Like if I did that, wasn't that the cutest thing you almost saw? And it's like, well, I can rewind the video and pause it. I can play it at 0.25 speed. What do you mean almost seen? Yeah, but you ain't catch displacer kitten. I can rewind the video and see it. Anyway, it's fine. You're not going to see this next card. I'm kidding. I don't have to be like that. The displacer kitten is the first thing that comes. So the second thing we have is mirror of life trapping. What? Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, if it was cast, exile it. Then return all other permanent cards exiled with the mirror of life trapping to the battlefield under their owner's control. Quentin barely had a second to admire his exquisite handsomeness before reality collapsed around him. These are some intense energies. The mirror of life trapping. So we have the displacer kitten. So far, all of these cards are about like you exile something from the battlefield and then return it under the owner's control. Now, the first thing that came to my mind was something parasitic. And it makes me think of Yu-Gi-Oh! When Weevil snuck a card into somebody's deck. And that person was like, hi, you just played a useless card. I don't have any bug type monsters. And Weevil's like, yeah, you do, because I snuck the card into your deck. And you're just like, wait, isn't that breaking the rules? You can't sneak cards into my deck. Hey, it worked because it's like, well, you should have checked your cards before you accepted the duel, I guess. Should have double checked the deck to make sure ain't nobody sneak cards in. Like one of those like parasitic, like there's a monster or a creature with a negative effect that is put into your hand on your battlefield, and there's no other way to get rid of it because you can't destroy your own monster. And the opponent that put that card on your battlefield isn't going to destroy it either. So it's like this way you can exile it and return it to the owner. Not necessarily giving return to sender energy, but I can see how somebody would take it that way. The cat distribution system doesn't mention this. Oh, wow. My glasses are broke. They broke in India. I actually just I've been home for a week and I still haven't gotten them fixed. It's fine. I can do it tomorrow because I don't have to work. Imagine being in a Schrodinger's cat paradox, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna open the box. I'm gonna open the box, and then you open the box, and the cat's not even there. Displacer kitten just does what it wants to do. Imagine the courage and the bravery and the chutzpah one would have to muster to open that box, and then the cat isn't even there. Now we're trapped in the box, or we realize with the life trapping mirror that we were in the box the whole time. That did not. Hey, well, hey, it works. It's a very precarious situation over here. I really didn't expect this mirror of life trapping, though. And what's interesting, it's like all permanent cards exiled with the mirror of life trapping get returned for one creature. When a creature enters the battlefield, if it was cast, exile it, then return all other permanent cards exiled with Mirror of Life trapping to the battlefield under their owner's control. And they come back to the battlefield. They don't come back to the hand, they come back to the battlefield. Now, what's interesting is it also mentions, like, well, this one is if you cast a non creature spell. This one is if a creature enters the battlefield through casting. There's a lot of casting being the prerequisite action needed to exile with these cards. And we have the Sage here. But that's like the Sage out of it. Casting is off limits in the Undercity. Oh, look, this person also has a. I didn't even catch that. Maybe this is someone's departure for the Undercity. Like, they're holding the torch. We got the Displacer Cat. We got the the Mirror of Life Trapping, which is 4. 3 water and then a 4. So again, it's this like 6 of spades, 7 of spades, 4 of cups, 5 of cups, 3 mana, 4 mana. Next is the Acolyte of Bahamut. Legendary enchantment background. Commander creatures you own have the first dragon spell you cast each turn costs 2 less mana to cast. You were on a wayward path until Bahamut showed you that power and kindness can unite beneath the same banner. So here's the wayward path of the Displacer Kitten and the Mirror of Life Trapping. On this wayward path, Bahamut shows you that power and kindness can unite beneath the same banner with this Acolyte of Bahamut. I love that. I didn't even finish talking about the show I started, did I? So anyway, in this show, there's a relic that has the power to make dreams real. Now, it seems like it also has the power to implant dreams. You don't get to control the dreams that you have, which is the catch, right? You think, because the characters, well, one of the characters was like, oh, it does relate to the Harmony and Discord thing. And also, Eris being Discord, Harmony, Harmonia, Concordia being Concord and Harmony, yeah. But it's like they were like, oh, it makes your dreams come true. And one guy was like, well, I want to be rich, but they don't get to control their dreams as much as they thought. And as it's like the more you dream and the more dreams come true, it's like this mystical force draws closer and closer. And the last thing that they will encounter before they meet is like their worst fear. It's like they'll have to face their own shadow. The final dream or whatever will be to face their own shadow. And if they fall, then they fall. But if they succeed, then they meet the God and the whatever is broken. And it's interesting because one of these mentioned mystical Harmonia's brother and her other lineage was the creator of the mystical rites on that island. And this was a mystical rite in the statue, anyway. It's fine. We have the acolyte of Bahamut. Now, I also think, if I'm not mistaken, that Bahamut, I'm playing Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, and I'm pretty sure that's Bahamut. Is that not Bahamut? It is Bahamut. Wow. Wow. Imagine that. Like, you literally summon this primal beast in the beginning of the game. There's Bahamut, and we have an acolyte of Bahamut right here. I'm telling you, the synchronicities definitely synchronize. The synchronicities are synchronizing. Displacer Kitten, Mirror of Life Trapping, Acolyte of Bahamut. Bahamut comes and shows that power and kindness can unite beneath the same banner. After Bahamut does that, we have Candlekeep Sage. Here we already have the Sage. Cool. Candlekeep Sage, a legendary enchantment. This is another background. Commander creatures you own have, when this creature enters or leaves the battlefield, draw a card. You love the smell of dusty tomes, the flicker of candles during late night reading, and the old texts that bring to life the scholars who have come before. And I still got how many cards left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cards. There are 12 cards left, and we already have the Candlekeep Sage. So is it over? Or is Magic the Gathering going to take us beyond the Sage? So we have 3, 4, 1, 2. 3 mana, 4 mana, 1 mana, 2 mana. Cool. I don't know. Is this over? Or do we go beyond? What is interesting about this Candlekeep Sage is, though, there are many candles here. Many candles and no staff, right? And then this sage has this one. Hold up. This one staff with these. Now you can see like there are embers, like glowing embers that create this fire. And I'm thinking of these mini candles, and I'm thinking of the Six of Wands as like this one wand has the wreath of the world around it, but these other ones don't. So maybe this is like one thing mastered and 5 more to master to create this mini sourced, mini aspected combo flame. It's like there are little flames that dance around this whatever. Thank you. It's all I had. It's not all I had, but I've been wearing a lot of t-shirts lately, and I felt like color today. And this was there. But thanks. I appreciate it. And then again, we see this Candlekeep Sage. So this candle keeps sage after, and I guess it would make sense because it seems that more, I don't want to say more often than not, it seems that there are many places where we can see power being exerted in ways that aren't necessarily kind. And there are many times that we could see a kindness that almost, it's almost like we can see kindness in a way that feels like it falls short of the powers that be and their ability to affect the proceedings and goings on and events and circumstances in reality. Right? It can be easy to think that power is unkind and kindness never wins or rarely wins because of the atrocities and stuff that we can witness in our daily, day to day, and in the world at large. But Bahamut unites power and kindness in a way that it's almost like I wouldn't be surprised if this Candlekeep Sage then has to go back and like relearn or unlearn a bunch of stuff. And the Undercity would be the perfect place to do that because it's like in the Undercity or from that Undercity perspective, like you can see the mycelium as they go from one place to another. And this is also interesting because when I came back and I read the collective energy, the Hermit was in reverse. And there was a lot of control with the Emperor, that being an exercise of power that has no kindness. That's an emperor that can't afford kindness because maybe they're still hurting. Right. Sometimes it's the things that exacerbate the fear of harmony. Sometimes. But here's our sage, here's our Candlekeep Sage, here's the person that's going through the Undercity, the displacer cat, the life trapping mirrors, and then they find Bahamut. Bahamut finds them. I almost wonder if Bahamut would be like an avatar of this wolf, the wolf that watches and the wolf that waits. And don't forget that the wolf actually did come out in the Archeo, and we read the tale of the wolf. The person who was lost in the forest that was like, oh, this big bad wolf's gonna eat me. Oh my gosh, my life is over. Ah. And then the wolf guides him to forest's edge. And the wolf is like, there you go. He's like, oh, you're not gonna eat me. And the wolf was like, I'm actually like working on my diet. No offense, but let me stop. The wolf's like, yeah, no, no, you're not, no, not appetizing. It's like I don't even want you in my forest. What makes you think I want you like in my body? Like, ew, no thanks. Bye. I said I wasn't gonna go there, but then I went there. It's fine. The next card. So we have our Candlekeep Sage. Oh, Underground Roar. Also, by the way, happy Black History Month. I actually this year I do have decks that I could use, but those are like personal use decks. But it is February, Black History Month here in the US. Now we have Mazzy, the True Sword Paladin, a legendary creature, a halfling knight. Whenever an enchanted creature attacks one of your opponents, it gets +2 attack and gains trample until end of turn. Whenever an aura you control is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, exile it. Until the end of your next turn, you may cast that card. So Mazzy, the True Sword Paladin, has some kind of something with auras. And the thing about this, it says until the end of your next turn, you may cast that card, which means that even if it's your opponent's turn, you can cast it. I'm assuming. Like if you lose your aura goes to the graveyard from the battlefield. And your opponent's like, ha, without your aura, I can come in and attack you. Mazzy, the True Sword Paladin's ability allows you to call that aura forward. And I feel like there's something about that. It's almost like if there were circumstances that happen in your life and someone was like, oh, this is the perfect time to go in and like do whatever because that person is whatever. And I feel like it's because it comes after the candle keeps sage. It's almost an energy of like nothing learned is ever forgotten. So even if your circumstance changes, even if you're vulnerable, you still have that to call upon. You still have that. It's like it provides you protection in an otherwise vulnerable state. See, now this Mazzy, and because I'm looking at her up in these mountains, right? And it's almost like in the Undercity. In the Undercity. All right, no problem, Eve. I hope you enjoy your dinner. In the Undercity, it's like there's this a place where you can like surface. Now from here, I feel like Mazzy might still like not be at the tower. I don't know if she'd be like closer to it or farther, or I mean, not farther than maybe farther than when she started. And maybe it's like Mazzy surfaces and the tower is still so far away. Like maybe when Mazzy sees daylight, she thinks, oh, like now I'm going to surface right under the tower and my quest will be complete. And it's not. And maybe it's that feeling or that realization that like there's still some distance to go. Like the journey isn't over, the work isn't done. That's like an old Mazzy, a Mazzy before the kindness and power of Bahamut, before the learning of the other sages in this Candlekeep sage. It's like now Mazzy isn't discouraged. It's a circumstance or a situation that's unfavorable where Mazzy's like, oh yeah, like is this ideal? Is this what I wanted? No. But is this going to tear me down? Is this going to destroy me? Is this going to delay? Is this going to get me to go back and whatever? Like, no. It's actually confirmation that I'm like closer, even though it may seem like I'm further type of energy. Next, we have banishment. Oof. Is this the unfavorable circumstance? An enchantment its flash. When banishment enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls and all other non-land permanents your opponents control with the same name as that permanent until banishment leaves the battlefield. Oh. I think this is actually because it's like light that is there's some kind of light and shadow, whatever in this. I think this is like Mazzy's ability. Right? Like in that vulnerable point and period, whenever something would happen, it's like now Mazzy has the power to banish and exile. That creature in every iteration and instance of that creature. All permanents with the same name. They also get banished until banishment, or they also get exiled until banishment leaves the field. And this is interesting because this is the first time we see an exile that isn't caused by something else, right? In the displacer cat, it's triggered by casting a non creature spell. The mirror of life trapping is triggered whenever a creature enters the battlefield, like via casting. Though with banishment, like you play the enchantment and you exile all of whatever by name. You exile something by name, and all iterations of it are exiled until banishment leaves the battlefield. It's a power of presence. It's like it makes me think of like one of those movies where like this isn't how Star Wars worked. I don't think. But it's like let's say that Luke Skywalker was fighting Darth Maul or some Sith Lord person, and it's like this is early Luke Skywalker. Again, I don't really know Star Wars, but it's early Luke Skywalker. So the Sith person, they're doing their lightsaber fight, and the Sith person sends Luke Skywalker's lightsaber flying. And the Sith person is like, ha ha ha, without your lightsaber, you're powerless. And they go to like strike Luke Skywalker, but then Luke Skywalker does one of those, and it's like he can use the Force without the lightsaber. And then it's like they're trying to strike, but he's like pushing it back. And they're like, what? How is this possible? Like, you don't have your lightsaber. How are you able to like still have some kind of agency? Like, you're disconnected from whatever. Like, you should be prey. You're in a vulnerable state, space, and situation. Like, you should be prey. Why am I not feasting on your misfortune? And it's like this banishment. Mazzy's like, yeah, you may have gotten rid of my aura, but I still have the power to banish you. And it's like, wow. And then the banished people go back and like, well, nobody told me that Mazzy didn't need a lightsaber to use the Force. It's like Mazzy might not have even known that Mazzy could use the Force without the lightsaber. Sometimes it's situations that we're placed in where we discover like a strength card type energy, maybe strength in a tower. Where we find out that we're a lot stronger than we thought we were, where we find out that we're a lot more capable, sometimes because we have to be. Now, this was a lot of learning. So the learning is the Candlekeep Sage. And banishment is where Mazzy puts that learning into play. This is the Sagittarius learning. After all of that Sagittarius learning, studying, this will part of her virtue of Mazzy being Mazzy, her ability is to, in the real world, pull on her learning in a way that matches and meets the real world. Because again, the learning happens in an environment and situation, a lot of times, a scenario that's very different than when we have to pull on the wisdom of that learning. And we can't necessarily recreate the scenario in which we learned it in order to exhibit it and to be it. Like sometimes you just have to be in real time. And that's when Mazzy learns that she can banish. But like again, with all of the research of the Candlekeep Sage, but that's also the thing. Sometimes it's like without real life or without being able to get your hands on it, the theory is just theory. Cool. Next, we have Hardy Outlander, which is another legendary background. Commander creatures you own have. Whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than that player, another target creature you control gets +X attack and defense until the end of the turn, where X is this creature's power. So with this Hardy Outlander, this was 3. Mazzy was 1 plus like 3 mana. Earth, fire, and basic non-aspected. I've been referring to it as light. Banishment is 3 mana plus light. This is 1 mana plus earth. Whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than that player, another target creature you control gets this creature's power added to their attack and defense. So if you have the most life on the battlefield, all of your other creatures take on the power of whoever has this hardy outlander background. Maybe it's just like hardy, right? Hardy, hale and hardy, very fit, very robust, very lots of vim and vigor. There's a resilience, especially like after Mazzy gets the ability to like banish. Like after Mazzy's like, oh yeah, like I don't need my lightsaber. Maybe this is the staff versus the focus in that magician card. This staff confuses me because I'm like, I don't know how this staff reads. If it's the stave or the focus or a combination of the two. But it's like, oh, like there's a confidence that Mazzy has in her ability to be amazing regardless of the situation and circumstances that she finds herself in. Because here she just was in a vulnerable state where she was preyed upon, but she wasn't prey. And all that's around Mazzy benefit from her strength. They get to add her strength to, as long as she's not discouraged, and as long as she has the most life, as long as she hasn't, it's like she can get discouraged because Mazzy is still human. But as long as she isn't so discouraged that she uh, revokes, disconnects from her own power, others around her, like her power is added to their attack and defense. So it's like, because inner and outer work just came out in the Angel of the Ten of Pentacles, I think. I think the Angel of the Ten of Pentacles was inner and outer work. And the Daemon, the occult Ten of Pentacles, was like uncovers treasures hidden by magicians and reveals secrets or something like that. I don't remember. Like this is, it's a confidence, it's a steadfastness, it's hardy, hardy outlander. Next we have Wilson, the refined grizzly. Legendary, oh, I love this. It's a bear warrior and it's the refined grizzly. I love the refined grizzly being this bear warrior because this is a berserker that's not berserking. This spell can't be countered. Vigilance, it has vigilance, reach, and trample. Ward is cost 2 mana. Whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays 2 mana. And you can choose a background here. You can have a background as a second commander. I love this refined grizzly being like, just like chilling in the forest. This spell can't be countered, and it can counter other spells and abilities. It can counter spells and abilities. And we have our bear warrior that's like sipping on. Oh, look, it's in the same environment. Are they both one? Yup, 1 and 1. Our hardy outlander meets Wilson, the refined grizzly. The hardy outlander, was that the ten? No, that was the other one. I think it was the sun in the Angel Tarot. Protection against wild beasts. Protection against wild beasts magistrates, and somebody else. And when I was doing it, I was like, because first we have the understanding of animals and we can speak their tongue. Just because we understand one another doesn't mean we're speaking the same language. But when we speak the same language and we understand one another, communication possibilities are endless. We can communicate scenarios and situations that are new, that we haven't built that understanding for, right? Like if I'm like, gravy's falling from the sky, if you can understand me, like logically, it's like, what does that mean? But through words, it's like, that gravy is falling from the sky. If you've never seen gravy fall from the sky before, if you can't believe gravy is falling from the sky, if you can't even imagine what gravy falling from the sky would look like, feel like, taste like, at least you understand my words and know it's happening. But if we don't speak the same language, how am I going to communicate something like that to you? You know what I mean? Anyway, it's fine. The thing was, because it protected against wild animals, it was fear. Well, I guess that's interesting that Phobos and Deimos come up today. Because it was like, if the grizzly's walking through the woods, going from point A to point B, and you're minding your business in the woods, if you see the grizzly and you become afraid and you make a move to defend yourself, now the grizzly feels like it has to defend itself. Now there's a whole bunch of tension where there doesn't have to be. But it feels like the hardy Mazzy can recognize that there's no fight with Wilson, the refined grizzly. Now, unless Mazzy's like, what camper around here had a bottle of red wine that this grizzly bear done snatched from him? That's not Mazzy. If someone else were in the woods, the grizzly bear's drinking wine, and grizzlies don't go to wine stores and they don't have glasses, so that glass must have been at some campground that grizzly attacked. And it becomes this whole thing about how and why the situation and scenario that we've never encountered before came to be, and it goes to the worst case. Now there's this whole family that's been attacked by this grizzly that may or may not survive, and we feel all of this sympathy and compassion, and as in addition to feeling fearful for ourselves, it's it becomes this whole thing there is no family. There's no danger. All of that logic and reasoning to explain the situation at hand is made up, has no basis, no grounding outside of what you've experienced. And now there's a whole bunch of emotion and tension where there needed be nothing. It's just Wilson. It's literally Wilson. Wilson is Wilson goes to the store and they give Wilson the wine in the glasses because Wilson is Wilson. Wilson doesn't even have to pay. Wilson is a bear. Wilson doesn't have money. But it's everybody knows Wilson. Now, where Wilson's from, everyone knows Wilson. For the Outlander, Wilson is an anomaly. But everyone's like, oh yeah, that's Wilson. Wilson likes red wine, so we just give Wilson red wine. It's really? Yeah. You're oh, well, where I come from, the grizzly bears don't drink red wine in cups. And it's well, yeah. You're not at your old school, Phoebe, are you? You're in Miss Frizzle's class now. Just get in the bus and buckle up. Next, we have Explore the Underdark. Now it's I love how it's so green now. What's interesting about this is, though, that Bahamut introduced us to this greenery. It wasn't as lush and it wasn't as green, but it's we can see the plants starting to grow here. Now, I assumed that this would be an outlet from the Underdark. Now, because of all this, or from the Undercity. Now, because of all this green, it feels like we're not in the Undercity anymore. So Mazzy has officially exited the Undercity. Now she goes by foot through this forest that opens up into the Underdark. Now, technically, I think the Underdark might be Undercity adjacent, but here the Underdark is just a really, really, really dense forest. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and or gate cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. You take the initiative. Here again, you take the initiative in exploring the Underdark, just like you took the initiative to venture into the Undercity. You have to take initiative to do these things. They don't just happen. And again, we had the letter in reverse with the tower in reverse. Why is the letter not arriving? Why am I not getting this? Why am I not going to getting that? Guess I'm going to have to take the initiative and go investigate or do whatever on my own. It's like, yep, guess you are. Careful near those pretty glowing plants. What do you think they feed on? Talon, the Underdark Guide. Oh, you're born explorer, happiest foraging your way through the untamed wilds. I didn't even read the flavor text for the Hardy Outlander. I forgot. LOL. You're a born explorer, happiest foraging your way through the untamed wilds, happiest going through the untamed wilds where you find Wilson the refined grizzly. It's like Alice in Underland. Alice is like, why caterpillar smoking hookah? The size of and it's like one of the first things she experienced was Cheshire Cat, and the displacer cat is here. It's fine. The displacer kitten. This ain't even a full-grown displacer cat. This is just displacer kitten. Now we're exploring the Underdark. Our hardy outlander who's happiest foraging their way through the untamed wilds go to the Underdark. Careful near those pretty glowing plants. What do you think they feed on? That's an interesting question. No, it's fine. I was like, can we grab a deck and see what they feed on? It's fine. Next, we have the command tower. Look at that. I didn't expect for the tower. It's a different tower, but I didn't expect for a tower to come out. Just like I didn't expect for the magic cards to give us the Candlekeep Sage or a Sage. So yeah. Also, with where it fell, it's like verifying that the Underdark is over. When Mazzy surfaced, that's it. That's like that part is done. Now she's going through the forest to get to the tower. After the Underdark and exploring the Underdark, we get the command tower. Now, because there are 2 animals here in the Sage, I wonder if like the wolf could have helped her through the Underdark. And then the owl comes in the wolf is for the Undercity. The owl is for the Underdark, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. One of the animals was for one phase or one dungeon. The other one is for the other phase. Now we have the command tower. And it says, add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Now, if Mazzy is our commander, we can add light, earth, or fire because they have those 3 in their identity. If Wilson the Grizzly is our commander, then we have earth because Wilson the refined grizzly, what more do you want from Wilson? Okay. I'm just playing. There's a lot that Wilson has to whatever, but is primarily Wilson favors the earth, okay, and the woodlands. Wilson's like, hey, just because I love the comfort of a glass of red wine does not mean I want the hustle and bustle of the city. I get my red wine, I come back to the forest. I'm good, they're good. This is about the only thing that humans have invented that I like or that they've created. And it's just, they took what exists naturally and they made it better. Or whatever. Durlog's tower is filled with enough treasure to last a lifetime and enough traps to drastically shorten that lifetime. This is given more like tower energy, tarot tower energy. But honestly, it feels like there are like beings in the lightning. Because she's given like, I don't know if this is like in a cave. Like those are cavern walls outside of the tower. And if those are like waterfalls, but it's giving me like lightning energy, northern lights energy. but it feels like there are beings behind the lightning. This is a land card, and it takes on whatever aspect of the commander's color identity. I wonder. It's almost because the command tower takes on an aspect of the commander's identity. It's giving me like a personalized tower energy. And maybe that's why it feels like they're like beings behind the lightning. Like Mazzy's command tower is not going to be the same as Wilson, the Refined Grizzly's command tower is not going to be the same as anyone's command tower because the purpose of the command tower is to test the individual. There's enough treasure to last a lifetime and enough traps to drastically shorten that lifetime. So there's also an energy that's almost like, what's the point and purpose of whatever if we can't even enjoy it? Right? It's like, imagine it's almost good again, giving me the energy of the statue where it's like your dreams will come true, but no one's to say that you're going to be in control of your dreams. It's not advertised that the statue also gives you nightmares. You know what I mean? Type of energy. But it's like, of course we think our dreams and we think a lifetime. We don't think that our life is going to be over tomorrow or in like 5 minutes. There's treasure and there's traps. Long story short. And it's like, we've already been through traps though. But maybe that's the thing. Because it's Mazzy's ability to pull on what she's learned and to use it in real time in the real world, in real life. That's why she's so hardy. That's why she can meet Wilson and not be afraid and have it be a whole bunch of stuff that it doesn't have to be because of her own fear and projection. This command tower comes right under the Acolyte of Bahamut. The Explore the Underdark is under Mirror of Life Trapping. Wilson the Refined Grizzly is under this Displacer Kitten, and the Hardy Outlander is under the Undercity. I made a new row after Banishment. Cool. Next, we have Flaming Fist, which is another legendary enchantment background. Commander creatures you own have, whenever this creature attacks, it gains double strike until end of turn. You carry the security of Baldur's Gate on your shoulders, and you welcome the weight of responsibility. I love this. You carry the security of Baldur's Gate on your shoulders, and you welcome the weight of responsibility. And it's interesting that there's a welcoming of the weight of responsibility here when the first cards that came out were the Ten of Wands and the Moon. And the Ten of Wands and the Moon manifested here somewhere. Maybe it was like the Sage or becoming the Sage. You have to go through the unknown and unknowable. You can't. It may be difficult to become a sage and to dwell permanently and forever in the confines of one's safety and security of what they know and trust and believe to already be true. Because at the very least, the sage has to be open to questioning. Even if it's validated and confirmed to be true, it still has to be tested. And like I was talking with my mom like the other day. I don't know why people just like lie about stuff now. I mean, people have always been lying, but it's like if you're trying to make a point or if you're trying to show, highlight, illuminate one thing is right and another thing is wrong, why do we have to embellish and um, hyperbolize on the good? And why do we have to just like make up complete lies on the bad? It's like, oh yeah, well, I did that and it did this to me. And it's like, but it didn't. Or it's like, oh, look at what's it's like the distrust is rampant, of course, but it's like sometimes people capitalize on an apparent distrust to just like lie. It's like they'll be like, "Oh, well, they're lying to you. Believe me." And it's like, "Girl, but like you're lying too. Hello, I'm not gonna believe you because, like, yeah, we both know that they're lying, but you're not telling me the truth either. But you're relying on you telling me that they're lying when I know that they're lying to buy some credibility with me." And it's like, okay, yeah, no, that's not how it works. That's how people end up in a whole bunch of stuff, and then it's like, okay, well, but yeah, to me, it's just like wild because it's like if you really, truly, legitimately believe in and care about what you are like promoting, like why do you have to falsely do whatever, like straight up lie intentionally? It's like I don't get it. Anyway, it's fine. I don't even know how I ended up on that. Was it the moon? I don't know. Welcomes the weight of responsibility. This flaming fist background. This rises to the challenge. Cool. Love it. I would expect no less of Mazzy, especially at this point. Now we have the Flaming Fist Officer. We got the Flaming Fist and the Flaming Fist Officer right after it. This gnome soldier, whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Flaming Fist Officer. Get the remaining citizens to safety. These miscreants have an appointment with my spear, not with the spear that's not used as a weapon of war. And it's like, yeah, the spear is meant to fish, but the spear will protect and defend in a hot second because the fear ain't the spear, not the fear. The spear ain't forgot. The spear knows that, like, oh yeah, I'm not like, basically the spear ain't a pushover. The spear ain't so Flaming Fist Officer isn't so whatever that I'm just gonna let you come in and run rampant and sow a bunch of havoc and discord and burn the house to the ground because I'm so what like yeah, no. Nah. Nah. Absolutely not. But that's almost like it's wild because there'll be people that's like, oh, well, you're supposed to be. I feel like it's been a minute, but back in the day, the comments were circulate. Oh, like you're supposed to be love and light. You're supposed to be high vibrational. You're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be that. And it's like, okay, so that means that I'm supposed to just like tolerate and subject myself to and willingly accept all kinds of mistreatment and abuse. Mm. No. You can take that in. You can go gaslight the next person. It ain't working over here. I'm not gonna be so yeah, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Protect the citizens and destroy your enemies. I'm kidding. Okay, it ain't necessarily that extreme. But for every citizen evacuated, for every citizen rescued, the Flaming Fist Officer grows more powerful. Whenever they exit the battlefield, the Flaming Fist Soldier grows in attack and defense capabilities. So now there's coming in as some kind of like purpose. I wonder if Mazzy at this point feels like it's her mission. Oh, maybe. Potentially. It's either a mission or it's like, this is happening and I'm here. I'm not going to pretend like this isn't my problem or like this is happening and assistance is needed. So I'm going to help. I also love how in the above row, it's like there's a lot of exiling. It almost feels like whenever it came to exile, it was in response to something external happening against the player. But instead of this being like removing things from the battlefield in reaction to things happening external, it's more like defensive. It's more focused on saving lives and it's more focused on protecting. And at this point, it's an understanding of what the cost of protecting and the cost of saving. The next card is the Taunting Kobold. It has haste. Whenever a Taunting Kobold attacks, go target creature and opponent controls. How was the. This is literally a distraction. This is literally a distraction. So, haste means that as soon as the Taunting Kobold pops up, usually when you play a card or a creature, you have to wait until the next turn for the creature to do something, right? It's like first the creature arrives and then the creature does whatever. But if it has haste, it can act immediately. But the ability of this taunting kobold triggers when it attacks, but it literally has zero attack. Literally. Like it literally can't do anything unless it's empowered, unless it's bolstered by something else. And it costs a single fire. There's no man, like there's no number before it, like all the other ones. It's literally a distraction. Now, this is an interesting twist. Because here I am talking about the Flaming Fist officer, right? This taunting kobold can get the attention of the Flaming Fist officer. But again, it has literally no attack power. The Flaming Fist officer will destroy this thing. And it's like its defense or whatever is so low, it's almost guaranteed to die. Like it's literally just a distraction. Now, this is interesting. I feel like we're in an interesting situation. I feel like we're in an interesting predicament. Because I almost wonder if it's like a test not to attack or to not be distracted, to not lose sight of what's important. Now, because the Flaming Fist officer is prioritizing the safety of the citizens, I would say that the Flaming Fist officer would probably be okay. But because of the imagined family, I don't know, right? Because there's Wilson the Grizzly, Wilson the Refined Grizzly. And if we just see a grizzly, again, if we see the grizzly drinking the red wine, we assume that that must be a family's red wine because grizzly bears ain't walking around carrying boxes of Franzia or whatever it is. They're not walking around, carrying bottles of champagne. Like it had to come from a human, it had to come from a family. What did that bear do to the family to get that wine? It's like nothing. Like it's Wilson. People give Wilson wine because who doesn't want to see a bear drinking? Wasn't Cocaine Bear like a movie? It's not. Wilson isn't like Cocaine Bear, but now this taunting kobold just threw a whole wrench in it. I was getting ahead of myself apparently. Next, we have the Fire Diamond. Fire Diamond enters the battlefield tapped, and you can tap it to add a fire mana. It feels like the Fire Diamond is the source of these taunting kobolds because you can tap the Fire Diamond and get enough mana to summon another taunting kobold. What's interesting is now I'm going beyond the first row. So one beyond the first row is that banishment. And it's interesting because it seemed like the light was in here doing whatever to the shadow, but it's like now the shadow is like it's probably supposed to be fire, but it's like it's creeping up around the crystal. And it's using that mana to summon these taunting kobolds rather than oh. Mine was Goldilocks' thank you gift. I love that. It's the command tower. It's a test. Because I'm like this what the this it feels like this mana should be used for something else. And again, it's literal the only thing on the table that this one fire mana is enough to afford is the taunting kobold. And again, the taunting kobold has literally zero attack power. It literally cannot do anything besides goad enemies to attack it, besides get attention, besides distract. And I'm like, well, what's the point? Like, why is this being misused? And then I look back at the command tower and I think of the beings in the lightning that's like observing from the outside, and I'm like, oh. See now, and I feel like I don't have the deck, but I feel like I talk about it all the time. It's giving me Crown Games right use of power. Again, the Flaming Fist officer is supposed to be able to tell that the taunting kobolds are not a threat, or that the taunting kobolds don't warrant. It's like they don't warrant attention because the taunting kobolds are weak enough that just by getting the attention of the Flaming Fist officer, they poof, they vanish. It's like they take care of themselves essentially. Because even in its relaxed state, the Flaming Fist officer has more attack than they do defense, and they have no attack. The Flaming Fist officer literally loses nothing, and the kobolds just throw themselves against the rock. They're the wave that crashes against the rock of this Flaming Fist kobold, or the Flaming Fist officer. It's like a tempered strength type energy. It's like the Five of Swords is like doing way too much. It's like to do nothing. Wow. Because I'm like the fire diamond, like is there some kind of manipulation or whatever? And it's like, yeah, no, it's part of the test of the command tower. It's part of the test to like fully enter the tower. It's one of the traps. The taunting kobolds are literally one of the traps. Durlock's tower is filled with enough treasure to last a lifetime and enough traps to drastically shorten that lifetime. Wow. Here I am, ready to get all hyper vigilant for no reason. After I'm talking about Wilson the Refined Grizzly. But again, another thing is that it tests our priorities. Because like I mentioned, it feels like this is the first time where it's like we're prioritizing the safety of something besides ourselves, I guess, rather than it being a reaction to something happening externally. It's the cost of maintaining peace and maintaining harmony. Now we got one card left for the art card, and it's the mountain. Lord Janeth sent you to secure the mine from Knoll raiders, but so far you haven't seen any Knolls, or for that matter, any miners. Oops. I think there's nothing there. when you realize that the fire diamond is the one that's like spawning all these kobolds, there's nothing else there. It's empty. It's almost like you passed the test. When you recognize the distraction as a distraction, it dissipates. But again, it's like there's a purpose and there's a point behind the distraction. Because our flaming fist officer, it feels like the flaming fist officer was also tested. Because again, so much of the banishing and the exiling up until that point was in reaction to something happening externally. This time, it was to protect something. It's the same actions taken. It's one of those things where it looks the same on the outside, but the motivation is completely different. And then I had a dream one time that that one Pirates of the Caribbean movie where Jack Sparrow gets a jar of dirt from some. I haven't seen enough of the movies really, but I saw the part where he got a jar of dirt from like some woman or whatever. So I had a dream that my neighbor's house was on fire. And so I went in because they have kids and stuff. So I went in to like save them. Like I got everybody out of the house and I'm covered in like, burns and ash and stuff like that. I get everybody out of the house. I had this dream a while ago. I got everybody out of the house and then I saw that lady and she was like, there was no fire. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I turned back and the house isn't on fire. And I was like, but I'm burned. And like, I wasn't burned. And she was just like, I was like, okay, well, I'm still mentally scarred and mentally traumatized. Like I thought that I thought that house was on fire. I'm going in there and saving people that don't even exist, risking myself in ways that I'm not even really gonna be hurt. So does it even I'm like mentally the brain remembers. Who I remember having that dream. And she's like, there is no fire. There was no fire. And I'm like, I got them out the house. The building was on fire. I was coughing because of the smoke and I'm covered in burns. And I wasn't. It's almost that energy. It's almost like the point was to see what you would do. Our art card is Asterion the Decadent. Oh, I know him from Baldur's Gate 3, I think. Oh, there we go. Asterion the Decadent. That's our full hangman, freed hangman type guy with the bow and the sword. Interesting. I feel like that was the most anticlimactic WTF. It was all a dream. None of it was real ending. The first time that happened, it was groundbreaking. The second time, it was still exhilarating. The fifth time, it was like, okay, by the 10th, 15th, 20th, 100th time, it's just frustrating because it's like there were no stakes in the game. There was like we were stressed and worried for no reason. Like it was all imagined. None of it was real. But the mental impact that it leaves. But again, it's like it's one of the traps of the tower. And again, it's given me that what was hidden by magicians for good reason. And so the character of the person must be tested because what's the point? What's the point in giving some great and amazing power to someone who is just going to become the next not great person at the top? What's the point of reevaluating systems and firing and hiring if it's just going to play out the same way? It's like you could have kept the people who were here. Wow. But hey, the sage emerges with all this power and the knowledge of how to use it. And I guess that's the point. And you want to know what else is interesting? So the taunting kobold is under banishment, right? So after that, all three of these cards, and they all have a, I mean, the mountain is full color, but they all have a certain tonality. They're colored in a way. Okay, banishment is up here. They're colored in a way that's different from everything else. These are the cards that go beyond the scope of this. And you find out, like we find out, that they don't even matter. And the taunting kobold is under banishment, so that basically gets banished. But maybe that's the thing at this point, to banish the kobold because of banishment. Duh! Because of banishment. You see that? When banishment enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls and all other non-land permanents your opponents control with the same name. This fire diamond produces just enough magic to endlessly spawn these taunting kobolds. But you can banish the taunting kobold by name, and then they all disappear. The Flaming Fist officer doesn't have to go one by one slaying these shadows. It's almost like when the moment is the tensest, the very thing that can settle this the most quickly is the very first thing that Mazzy discovered when she left the Undercity. Banishment. You banish them. Then you get rid of all of them all at once. That, like, it blows my mind. You get rid of all of them all at once. And you don't have to worry about this fire diamond endlessly spawning them. And I think there's something too about like calling it by name. Because with banishment, you have to know what you're banishing. You have to banish it by name. And so there is a certain level of attention that you have to pay to like make sure you're banishing the right thing, basically. There's a certain level of avoidance that can't be had. And there's a certain, like, you got to get down to the root to know it. Call it out by name. It's like trying to banish Rumpelstiltskin, but you can't get rid of him. And then you find out what his name is. Wow. Because I was like, because the kobolds under banishment, so basically all of this goes away anyway. Everything that goes beyond the scale of this, like, again, you find out that it's not real. So with the Asterion here, it's like Asterion is this Lord Janeth. Asterion is this imagined person that sends you on this imagined quest to liberate this imagined mind from these imagined gnolls. And then you go back and you're like, I went to the mine and there were no gnolls and there were no miners. But you go back and it's like there's no Asterion either. And it's like, but Asterion's the one that sent me on this quest. It's all a trick of the command tower. It's all a test of your character. Or whatever. Interesting. Again, like it just, banishment was right there. You can get rid of all the taunting kobolds. I hereby banish taunting kobolds. Now it's gone. Wow. Really over here hyper vigilant for no reason. May that be a lesson to me. I'm shook. All right, well, that's what I got. Thanks, Eve, Holly, and David for stopping by and spending some time with me. It's been 2.5 hours. Oof. This really did just like, wow. I wonder how long We could fight taunting kobold after taunting kobold after taunting kobold, and every time one of them pops up, by nature of attacking, they draw your attention. And then it's like you could just banish them and be rid of all of them. You ain't gotta fight one after another after this. Like, when is it gonna end? Go to the root, call it out by name, banish it. Anything and everything of that name will be banished. No more taunting kobolds. It's like, wow. Wow. It was really that simple. The first thing that Mazzy did when she escaped the Undercity, it's almost like it's like that sometimes, though, right? It's like if there's a movie or a book or whatever, and it's like the first thing that the hero, like the first accomplishment or the first ability or skill that the hero, magic spell that the hero learns to cast. It's like after you learn so many, you almost forget about the very first one. But the very first one is what resolves the ultimate conflict at the end. And it's like, wow. It's like, are there, like, if there's ever like a 3-letter word, like tie, like sometimes there'll be like a word, it's like pie, and I'll be like PIE. And I was like, is that right? Like, it's so, like, I know that's how you spell pie, but for some reason it doesn't look right. Like, I know that's not wrong, but why does it look wrong? Or it's like in math or whatever class, it's like you learn so many like complex high level things that sometimes the simplest things, the most straightforward, I kind of forget. And it's like, oh, I mean, everything was just like so complicated and complex that I forgot that sometimes things can be simple. And I forgot how to do the simple things. It's like, oh, yeah, I know that. I knew that. I was like, yeah, girl, just banish it. Call it by name. Like, hello? You don't have to fight wave after wave of, because again, this fire diamond don't put out a lot of mana. It don't put out a lot of, but it puts out enough to endlessly spawn taunting kobold after taunting kobold after taunting kobold. And if you fight them one by one, it's possible to go forever. Banish it by name. No more. No more taunting. That's probably going to be the title of this video. No more taunting kobolds. Call it by name. All right. So that's what I got. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment. And Steph, thank you also, Steph, for being here. I hope you have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality in whatever way that means for you. And more than anything, I hope you the intuition and the discernment and the courage and bravery to follow through on your intuition and discernment to navigate whatever it is that you have to navigate in whatever way is for you to navigate to do whatever. And if it ain't resonating, I hope you ain't taking. And if I don't resonate, I hope that you didn't even make it this far in the video. You're already off to those that resonate for you. You know what I mean? Because life's too short. And there are too many people on this platform for anybody to be here who, like, you know what I mean? Anyway, bye.